be with you. And I hope that you're going to take some notes today, because today, in fact, I'm looking at, man, I'm only seeing one in the chat box. Let's get some gratitudes going, guys. What are you going to do today? What's your intentions of the day? What are you going to make happen today? So this morning I wrote down just a handful of different things. And as I was writing, I wrote down these words. I wrote down, find a way. My observation is that some of us, no matter what it is that we're doing, fall almost quasi-victim to the fact that we believe that things are just going to be the way they're going to be. And I've said this oftentimes. How many times do you say, or do you accept no as the answer when you know deep within your soul that you could find an answer and you could find a way? Today, let today be a day that you find the way. That you find the way in your business. You find the way within your family. You find the way in regards to your health. Sometimes we settle in and just believe that, well, it just is what it is. I'm just going to accept what it is. Yes, you can accept things you cannot change, but I will tell you, more importantly, there is so much that we accept as our reality that we could change if we truly made the effort, the declaration, the decision that we will find a way. Stop believing that your health has to be a certain way if it's not what you want it to be. Stop believing that your income has to be as a certain way, or that there's a rule to the way in which you earn your money. Guys and gals, you have seen so many people over our lifetime be able to elevate their income, earn a living, create massive amounts of wealth, uber rich, from the standpoint that there was a decision that someone was going to become wealthy. It started with a vision. It started with a decision. And then look at the relationships of your life. Look at them clearly. Look at them intently. Look at them and analyze and refine them, because you can. The challenge for each one of us is sometimes we're so accepting of what is that we forget that we are the masters of our own ship. We are the masters of our universe in regards to being able to shape and to create the life that we desire. And so today, I want to just visit with you about one of those areas that I believe so strongly that if you create and if you make happen, it will be one of the most rewarding and most impactful parts of this business. Look, we can talk about all the different ways that you can do business in today's marketplace. We can talk about the way in which you can do business in regards to a for sale by owner. We can talk about businesses through expired listings. We can talk about knocking doors. We can talk about calling people. We can talk about just listed, just sold, in the sense of going and knocking those doors. And some of you may shudder at the idea of that. And yet those who I see doing that consistently also have a very consistent business. But then let's go deeper. We can talk about internet leads. We can talk about calling buyers, calling sign calls. We can talk about word of mouth. So let's talk about one of the most important parts of this business that I have to tell you. I look back in my 26 years of doing this business, and I have to tell you that I am absolutely amazed at the reality of how many people have somehow not figured out the most important aspect of this business, which is to work with the people that know you, cheer for you, the ones that are championing your cause. And that would be your sphere of influence. When was the last time you called your sphere? When was the last time you spoke to people who know you? See, one of the things that's interesting about working with your sphere of influence, people who champion for you, who are cheering for you, want your success. And now some of you may on this call or this meeting today, you may be thinking, well, what do you mean by that sphere? I'm talking about past clients. I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about anyone essentially who knows you, that you could create and foster and develop a relationship with another human being. Okay, my observation is that oftentimes an agent will be so driven in regards to their ego that they never take the time to take a step back. Now look, in the words of the late Wayne Dyer, who said that an ego is built comprised of three elements of our lives. Number one, what do people think about me? Now think about that for a moment in relationship to your sphere. Is your ego speaking? Is it the reason you don't call them, talk to them, visit with them, right? Is it the reason you're not bringing value to their lives? So first and foremost, the ego is built on, what do others think of me? Second, he talked about, these are no particular order. Second thing he would always talk about, and I deeply believe this, is look at me. What have I achieved? So what have you accomplished? What have you accomplished? What do people think about me, say about me, right? And third, what have I acquired? Well, that's the ego. So assume that you've acquired nothing. Assume you don't worry about what else. I don't know. That's not the main focus today. But I do know this, that we need to pay attention to who we're becoming. Because at the end of the day, you could earn all the money, have all the success in the world. Reality check is that if you haven't become much, you're not going to earn much. And even if you earn a lot but still haven't become much, the reality is you're probably all on the top of the mountain all alone. And man, what a desperate, disappointing, dark place to be. If that is the reality, that all the success in the world, all the achievement in the world, but completely unfulfilled, man, the ultimate failure for life, as our good friend Tony Robbins will say. So with that being said, let me just echo this again. If your ego is preventing you from communicating with those that you know, that means that you're worried about what they say, what they think. You're worried about what you've already or haven't achieved, and you're worried about what you've actually acquired or not acquired. Stop letting your ego be the reason that you don't work with your sphere. Now look, sphere is interesting. A sphere is what I believe to be the single greatest asset that you will ever build in relationship to this business. Your sphere, let me repeat that, is the single greatest asset that you will build in relationship to this business. And look, people ask me, how do you know if someone's working in their sphere well? Pretty simple. 3 great questions. Number 1, is your business getting easier, or is it getting more difficult? Is your business getting easier, or is it getting more difficult? You say, well, what do you mean by that, George? Well, what I mean by that is business coming to you more easily than it was in the past? That means that if it is, you are effectively working your sphere. It means you're becoming a better agent. It means you're communicating. It means that they know that you are in the game of real estate. Now the second part of that, the second part of this business in regards to our sphere, and those 3 questions, and how do you know whether you're working it effectively or not, is this, is that if people are asking you consistently, whether you're at a social function or you're at an event, or you're at a baseball game, you're at a basketball game of your kids, wherever you are, and someone says to you, so hey, what are you up to now? You know that you are not working your sphere effectively. If people are asking you what you're up to, what you're doing now, what you're involved in, what's your business today, if they're asking you, you know that you have not effectively worked your sphere. They have not been contacted enough. They have not been mailed, emailed, and all the things in a moment we're going to talk about. You know that. All right? And here's the third answer as to whether you're working your sphere effectively, whether you're having true success with it, is that your sales prices are going up. So the question I'm asking you then is, are your sales prices going up? And if your sale prices are going up, then it's probably a good chance that you're working your sphere really effectively. I want you to think about those 3 questions. Are people asking you what business you're in still? Are your sales prices going up? Is the business getting easier for you every day? If that's happening, then hey, you know what? Turn this off, baby, and just go get on the phones and start prospecting. But if not, you got to take a step back and ask yourself, really, what is it that's preventing you? Is it the system? Is it your ego? Is it your consistency? Is it your knowledge base of how important this is? So years ago, I used to speak about this, and I want to speak to you about this one idea. Robert Kiyosaki, in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, speaks and discusses the idea of leverage. He has 4 different quadrants. I'm not in a position right now where I can write them down, but if you are, you can write down basically 4 quadrants, right? One line over another line. With those, right in the first top left corner of that, write down employee. On the bottom one, write down self-employed, right? So E-S, employment, employee, self-employed. Third top quadrant, write down business owner, business. And in the 4th quadrant, write down investment. Look, I'm not here to tell you that there's something wrong with having a job, and I'm not even here to tell you there's something wrong with being self-employed. What I do know is this, that in order to be a business owner, you have to have a consistent system. You own a system when you're a business owner. When you're an investor, you own the assets and the money that earn the money. But as a business owner, you own a system. So if every one of us has a desire to own our own business, then we have to sit back and go, okay, what's the system that I'm using? What's the system that's my structure for my sphere of influence? Even we could go deeper. We won't today, but we get deeper into what's the system for your internet leads, the system for your sellers or potential sellers, for sale by owners, expireds, just listed, just sold. What's the system? Because the system is when you own when you have a system, you actually own a business. Well, some of you are believing that your strategy for this business is hope and prayer. And I'm not here to tell you, you know me well enough by now. I love the fact that this world needs more prayer. No question about it. And it needs more hope and light and joy. No question about it. But as a strategy, as a systemization for your business, that your system becomes, I hope the home sells. I hope that I get a deal. Or I pray that I get a deal. Guys, I can pray and I can hope all day long, but I'm here to tell you that the answers are right in front of you. It's like the lady or the gal who's caught in the big storm, the hurricane, the floods are coming, and they start praying, God, please save me. Please save me. Well, as time's going on, there's boats and rescues and all these things happening, and all of a sudden they get all the way to the top of the house. They're praying. They are on their knees praying that something happens. Good that something will happen. Well, all of a sudden a boat comes by and says, jump in, jump in. And the lady responds, no, I'm good. God's going to save me. Boat, motors off. All of a sudden a helicopter's overhead. They see him on the top of the roof. The floods are coming in the big storm. They radio down, grab the ladder, grab the ladder. They respond back, no, God's going to save me. So all of a sudden they die. And they are up in heaven. They go, God, what happened, man? I was praying for you to save me. And God said, what are you talking about? I sent a boat, I sent a helicopter, and all these other means for you to be saved, and you didn't take hold of any of them. My point to this is, you can pray all day long and you can hope all day long, but you better have a system. You want to own a business? Have a system. Stop letting hope be the reason that your homes don't sell or do sell. If your home is homes that you have listed are not selling, which in today's market is most ridiculous because almost all homes are selling, but in normal markets, which are the majority of the markets that we are in this business, then the reality is that if the home is not selling, don't hope it sells, not praying it sells, get it priced right because you have a system that gets it sold. The system. If you want to be a business owner, if you think like right now, many of you just own a job. You're self-employed and you own a job. You own a job. That's not a system. So in order to own a business, to really have a real estate business, you have to own a system. So what's your system? Well, look, I'm trying to share with you how important it is that with your sphere of influence, how important it is with the people who are championing your cause, who are cheering for your success, who have had great experiences working with you, that if you can set aside your ego, if you can set aside this idea that you're there to help people and bring value, and recognizing you want your business to get easier, you want your sales prices to go up, you don't want to be asked consistently, Hey, what are you doing? Are you still in real estate? If those are things that you know you're not doing your job and you're not building the system. So let's get off this idea that we just have a job. Let's get off this idea that we're just self-employed. Let's get on the idea that we're a business owner. And if you're a business owner, you have a system. Look, what do all of our great teams like the Austin Kales of the world, the Dave Parkers, the Justin Udys, the Brian Burnett's, the Tina Hares, the Trish Perez's, the Kathleen Brunos of the world in our company, what do they have? They have a business because they have a system. Yes, all those people I mentioned have teams. They have people they're working with on their team. Well, if that's the reality, if that's the job, if that's what they're doing, they're creating an asset. They're creating a business. Now, write this down if you haven't written anything down. Write this down. I can either build assets or I can buy assets. I can either build them or buy them. Question for you. Are you going to build assets or are you going to buy them? Buying them would be this example. Buying someone else's sphere of influence. I remember years ago, my late father-in-law, who had a dental practice, when he passed away, my mother-in-law, she sold the practice because there was an army of people that were fans of my father-in-law. They went and sold the practice and got a pretty penny for it because there was value in the practice when he passed away. So yes, could you go buy someone else's practice? You could. Does it happen often? Not often, because here's the problem. Most agents don't actually build a business because they have no system. So there's not much to buy. That's the challenge of our industry. So buying a system is a possibility. But in most cases, the cheapest, the most inexpensive, the one that will only require your time, energy, and effort is the ability to build the asset, the system of your sphere of influence. So what is your sphere of influence going to look like? What is it going to look like? How are you going to build it? How are you going to develop? Well, that's what we're going to spend some time doing just over the next 10 minutes. I'm going to share with you just some very specific things that I know that if you do them, and if you apply yourself, and if you get rid of your ego, and you bring consistency to the game, and you truly build a system to your sphere of influence. Sometimes people call it centers of influence. But again, this is your past clients. This is if you're just joining us, our past clients. It's your sphere of influence, right? It's the people that you rub shoulders with. It's the people that you know. It's the family. It's the friends. You say, well, but George, I don't want them I don't want to be that pushy salesperson. Right, because your ego is speaking. Your ego is speaking when you're saying that, guys. Oh, I don't want to call people I know. I mean, what if I mess up? Again, your ego is speaking. You're not going to mess up. You have an army of managers and leaders and compliance, like the great Matt Barton, the Rob Okies, the Ken Averets of the world, and other managers who can help you. You're not going to mess up if you ask questions. So go and communicate with these people. Don't let your ego be the driving force that you don't step forward and communicate and meet and greet and talk to the people. 5 things I want you to write down. Here's the answers to the test. This is how you build a great sphere. Guys, one of the biggest mistakes I made in my career in my first 3 to 5 years, my ego was screaming so loud that I didn't want people to think I was not good, not great, that I couldn't even get past it. No one challenged me to say, wait, that's your ego speaking to you. You're worried about what people think about you. Stop it. Make the call. Okay, now here's the key. Write this above on these 5 things. I must bring value to the people I communicate with. I must bring value to the people I communicate with. Now write this right, ... or comma. However, consistency is more important than content. Let me repeat that. However, consistency is more important than content. I want you to think about that. Meaning, it doesn't matter what the postcard says. It doesn't matter what the newsletter says. It doesn't matter what you are emailing out. You may say, oh, no, it matters. No. If we're looking at the hierarchies, the hierarchy of consistency is far more important than the content that you deliver. Do not forget that. Yes, bring value, no question, but do not underestimate the importance of consistency. Remember, consistency is your greatest friend. Consistency is your greatest friend. So here's the 5 things. Number 1, if you will do this, let me preface before I give these 5, I keep getting ahead of myself. Let's assume that you do these 5 things. I'll write this down. 5 things. If I do them, I will get a 10 to as much as maybe even a 20% return on my investment. Guys, I used to say 15. I have to tell you, my observation is it can be as high as 20%. So let's just take some math here. You have an objective of every single agent should have no less than 300 people in their sphere of influence. 300 names, yes. Does a husband and wife count as 2 people? Yes, in today's world, it does. Why? They both know different people and they both have a cell phone. All right? So look, you're going to have 300 people where you know their name, their address, their phone number, their name, their address, their phone number, and their email. And then any other little note that you want to take. Whether it's an anniversary, whatever it may be. But you're going to know about them. All right? 300 people, 10 to 20% return if you'll do these 5 things. Now imagine you get a 10% return on 30 people. That's 300 people. That's 30 people, 30 homes you sell. 30 times an average commission, let's just say $10,000, is $300,000. Working with people who refer you or people who want to work with you. That's the magic of working your sphere. That's the magic of owning a business. Being a business owner. 5 things. Here we go. Number 1, you must call them at minimum once a quarter. Minimum once a quarter, you must call them. All right? Minimum once a quarter, you make a phone call. And people say, well, what do I talk about? Guys, it's just simple. Hey, this is George Mora, Century 21. Hey, I'm calling you about real estate. You have just a moment for me. Then they say, well, sure. Great. Bob, I just want to ask you, hey, who do you know that's thinking of buying or selling real estate? Hey, I want to bring some value to you. I want to share with you what's going on in the market. Hey, I want to share with you a new listing that I just took. Hey, I want to see if I could help you in any way, shape, or form. Do you know anyone who's thinking of buying or selling real estate in the near future? Do you know anybody who's currently renting that should be in their home with interest rates as low as they are? Guys, you just bring value. We don't have time for the role play part of this, but I can tell you that if you will do this consistently, that means you have to average 5 people a day. If you have 300 people in your sphere, 20 work days in a month, you average 5 per day, 100 people you speak to a month, 300 for the quarter, and you hit every one of those people in your sphere of influence on a quarterly basis. You'll say, well, is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. It is that simple. The problem is that we complicate it. Talk to 300 people every quarter. That is your minimum standard. That is the new business for you, no matter what. Stop letting your ego drive you. Stop letting your inconsistency be the letdown. Discipline and ego completely in alignment. All right, here we go. Number 2, email. Email monthly. Look, whether you're using Century 21 system, your own system, whatever you choose to do, for good gravy, you've got to have a system that you're emailing them. And look, the bottom line is, do you think they're going to read every one of your emails? No, they're not going to read every one of your emails, but they're going to know you're in the business. They're going to know you're in the business. Number 3, you're going to mail them. You're going to hardcore, like an actual hard mailing, a postcard, a letter, a newsletter, a recipe. People say, well, I don't, remember, it's not content. This is about awareness, not, oh my gosh, they love my value. They love my postcard. It had a home improvement tip. Okay, that's great if you're aligned with that and you think it's good. But the reality is, most people aren't going to read it. I'm not going to read it. Most people are going to have it find the round file, but they're going to see it and they're going to, oh, wait a second here. When they see the fact that the name on that card is synonymous with real estate, which is you and Century 21, you win the game. All right. So look, you got to call them. You need to email them. You need to mail them. Now let's talk about 2 other things. A client appreciation at minimum twice a year. a client appreciation at least twice a year, whether it be a movie, Easter egg hunts, pumpkin patches, whatever it may be. Serve the people who love you and you love them. Fifth, social media. Simple answer. Don't let it be complicated. Just a 1 to 3 ratio. Put 3 things in there that are life, normal, picture of your kids, and then 1 thing about real estate. That's it. A 3 to 1 ratio. That's it. You don't need to complicate it. 3 things about your family, 3 things socially, and 1 thing about real estate. And that is all you have to do. Now look, can you text them? Can you mass dial them? Can you leave them all messages? Could you do other things? Yeah, of course. But I can promise you, tried and true, if you will do those 5 things, mail them, email them, if you will do social media, if you will make sure you do client appreciations, and if you will call them personally on a monthly basis and over a quarterly basis for your whole sphere, you will get a 10 to 20% rate of return. So imagine selling 50, 60 homes, earning $400,000-$500,000 a year. Imagine this. And talking to 5 people a day. 5! It's like a Subway commercial. 5 people. Hey, wanted to call and share with you a little bit about the market. How are you doing? How's the family? 5 enjoyable, peaceful, joyful phone calls a day, and you win the game. Now, here's the decision you have to make in closing. You need to make a decision as to whether you're going to let your ego run your life or whether you're going to set it aside and allow yourself to bring tremendous value to the people that need your help and are desperate for a leader of your quality and caliber. You have to make a decision today. I would hope it's today, that never again will you allow a month to go by, a day to go by that you're working, that you are not doing your job in regards to your sphere. And I'm going to leave you with this. Some of you may not have 300 people in your sphere. I would arguably say that that's ridiculous because I know that you know 300 people. The average human being in the U.S. actually knows 300 people. Now, you can let your ego get out of the way and there's people you won't put in your sphere, but that's a whole other conversation. Each and every one of us knows over 300 people. And if you don't, then here's the statement I would make to you. If you're talking to people consistently, calling your sphere, calling just listed, just sold, for sale by owners, expireds, if you're calling internet leads, buyers, sign calls, I can promise you, I know that every day, if you're talking to 20 or 30 people a day, you're meeting 1 or 2 people a day that you sit there and go, man, what a wonderful and delightful person. And you have the power to add them to your sphere. I remember years ago as I counseled Doug Carey, one of our great agents up in Centerville, Utah. And I said, Doug, just add 1 person to your sphere a day. Just like this. Doug, you've been wonderful to speak to. And I appreciate the time that you've given me. Looks like real estate right now is not the right move, or you aren't going to be selling or buying or whatever it may be. I was just wondering, would you mind if I touch bases with you periodically, updated you on market conditions, and was able to find out to know if you knew of anybody who was thinking of buying or selling real estate in the near future? Would that be okay if I touch bases with you on a regular basis? And you know what? When that person that you connected with, that for sale by owner, that expired, that just listed, that internet lead, maybe it's a wrong phone number of all things. Would you mind if I touch bases with you periodically, updated you on market conditions, and to find out if you knew of anybody who was thinking of buying or selling real estate in the near future? If you did that, you could add 1 to 2 at minimum per day to your sphere. Now, why I bring up Doug Carey is because I remember sitting with Doug about 2 or 3 years ago in my office. And he came in with his laptop and he had his big spreadsheet out. You know, he always loves spreadsheets. And Doug opened up his computer and he said, George, I have to tell you, that was some of the best counsel that you've ever given me. And I said, well, tell me a little more about that. And he turned his computer and he showed me his little pie chart. And on his pie chart, that year, he made $110,000 from the very counsel of me just simply saying, can you add 1 to 2 people to your sphere a day? And I'm telling you, what a difference it has made for him. And then, yes, does he have his, superior, if you would say, sphere of influence? But he's now training this other army to go along with him. He's building a system. He's building an army of people to watch and to be part of his life. It's a system. It's a business that despite whether he does any other calls in a given day, most likely someone's calling him. That's the beauty of creating passive income, the beauty of creating a system, the beauty of creating a real business. That's the answers to the test, gang. That's the answers. You want a great business? You want it to get easier? You want to raise your sales prices? You want to have it where people aren't asking you what you're doing today? Work your sphere like never before. In closing, this is single-handedly the greatest asset you will ever build. You can talk to me all day long about buying real estate. You can talk to me all day long about buying the next investment property, but some of you are missing the very acres of diamonds that is sitting right below your feet, and it is called your sphere of influence. You want to be able to invest in more real estate? Work your sphere. You want to have people calling you and making it easier? Work your sphere. You want to pay off homes? You want to be debt-free? You want to build an army of people that is truly going to send you business, championing your cause, cheering for your success, handing you their closest friends, family, loved ones, because they trust you because of the agent that you have become. In closing, this is the most beautiful thing about working your sphere. You have to become more. You have to become a better agent when you work your sphere. Because here's the reality. If you're not getting business from your sphere, then I can promise you there's something in the way in which you're approaching your life or approaching your sphere. Bring value. Be a shepherd and a leader in this business, and I can promise you this business will be everything you desire it to be. And with that, let's close up. I hope this is helpful, gang. Make the commitment today that you're going to work your sphere, build a business, create a system that is real, that is long-lasting, and that will stand the test of time. All right, let's get rocking. Have an extraordinary